today's session, we're going to unpack some very practical tools and strategies of how discipline can be a positive, connection-building opportunity for both you and your child. It's really an opportunity to grow, learn, and connect with each other, and also to teach as well. So this can really be an opportunity, discipline, if we can first wait until our child is ready, and us as adults are ready too to have a conversation, and also if we're consistent. So firm, fair, flexible, and follow through. I always say are the 4 F's that are keys for parents, and not being rigid. So by being firm and following through consistently on our expectations, before our children even act out, they have a clear sense of what those boundaries and what those parameters are. And just setting those up in advance is a really important aspect of being able to have effective discipline. How, you might ask, is discipline actually an opportunity to grow, teach, and connect? It feels more like stress and chaos to me. Well, thankfully, Siegel and Bryson, in their book No Drama Discipline, offer some just practical ideas and suggestions in terms of supporting that discipline process. The first is this idea of mindsight. So what we want to be able to do in discipline is develop insight in our children to help our kids understand their own feelings and their own responses to difficult situations. Really, that's the goal of discipline, to create insight to help our children know how they're doing, why they did what they did, and also how they can do things differently. Empathy really ties in nicely with that as well. If we can give kids practice in reflecting on how their actions impact others through the discipline process, they're learning, growing, and able to probably make better choices next time as well. Repair is also key. So asking our kids what they can do to make things right or how we can make it better. These are really 3 amazing opportunities and invitations that discipline done right in a connection-based fashion actually provides. So if we kind of look at the next slide here, we can see some really important questions. As we look at that goal of discipline, it's saying yes to the child, but no to the behavior. So really focusing on staying connected and also redirecting as well. How can we, instead of react, be prepared and support our children by asking meaningful questions for ourselves as well? So a common idea too is, hey, I love you, I care about you, but I don't really like the actions that you're doing right now. So here are 3 really important reflective questions that can help us. So why did my child act this way? Maybe what were the triggers, what were the precursors, even what emotions were they feeling in that moment? Number 2 is, what lessons do I want to teach my child in this moment? I could get upset, I could punish them, I could give them consequences. Of course, some of those things can be helpful, and we have to be firm and follow through in terms of our expectations for our children. But instead of just offering random consequences, a common thing, parents will come into my clinic and they'll say, yeah, my child lost TV privileges for a week. Well, it's great. It's good to have a consequence, but what's that teaching them? I do believe in consequences, and I think consequences can be kept to that day. So if your child does something that day, they could lose privileges to TV, computer, tech for that day, because you're teaching them, hey, you know what, if you make poor choices, you're going to lose opportunities for that day. But I believe, as much as possible, tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow is a fresh start. So taking everything one day at a time. Of course, there's big incidences where perhaps if they're looking at really inappropriate things on the computer, well, their circle is too big. We can't give them that much responsibility. We've got to shrink their circle, and maybe they don't need to have access to those opportunities. But really kind of, as a parent, thinking, what am I trying to teach my child in this moment? And really, how am I either trying to grow my child's circle of responsibility or help them to understand that maybe their actions or what they're communicating is their circle is too big? And question number 3 is, how can I best teach this lesson? And of course, a couple of things to really highlight is we can't teach that lesson when our child's in the red zone really upset. The most important aspect of teaching the lesson is both when you and your child are calm, regulated, and in the green zone. So as we think about these 3 powerful questions, let's look at staying on track as a parent. Because as a parent, we can answer those questions in different ways. Why did my child act this way? What lesson do I want to teach them? The parent-driven approach says, my child acted this way because I don't have enough structure. I'm not being clear enough. I'm not being firm enough. I need to teach them that I'm in control and that if they act, they get punishments. That's the parent-driven approach. The child-driven approach is, I guess I'm being too strict, or I'm having too many rules or too many regulations, and maybe as a parent, I am doing too much, so I've got to dial it down, give my child more choice so they have less of their behaviors. And the child-driven approach, a parent might say, what lesson do I want to teach my child in this moment? I want to teach my child how to be calm. And their answer or solution to that is kind of possibly giving in to what they want. We can see those are two ditches of ideally what we do not want to do. Staying on track and staying in the center of the road in connection-based parenting. We answer the questions this way. Why did my child act this way? As a parent and child, we want to work as a team to seek to understand and ask powerful questions. So really engaging with your child when they are calm and regulated of why they did act that way, and trying to get a sense of maybe there's some unmet needs, whether it's food, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they didn't get enough sleep, they're dysregulated, or maybe there was a trigger in their environment. The other piece too is maybe it's possible that they're seeking your attention. Maybe you're busy with their other siblings, they're not feeling as connected, so they could be attention seeking, they could be trying to get some sort of reward. What is the function of their behavior? So really exploring that in a bit more detail. And the lesson we want to teach our children is how to build that insider awareness. Okay, first, what zone am I in? What emotions did I feel, and how did it lead me to act the way I did? And I think the big lesson too is that empathy piece. How are your actions, how are your words and actions impacting the way that your parents and possibly your siblings are feeling around you? So building that empathy or mindset is probably one of the most important teaching tools. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things that has helped children more than anything. If they can understand how their actions and feelings are negatively impacting other people around them, the majority, maybe 50 to 75% of children, if they can be more aware of that in the moment, they'll do things differently. Of course, there's children with oppositional defiant disorder and other diagnoses where that's going to be more challenging. But let's say the majority, 50 to 75%, if we can just build that mindset and teach them those lessons by asking powerful questions and having them reflect on things, that is really, really helpful and a great way to do that. And, in terms of teaching the lesson, being able to ask them, what size of problem was that? Small, medium, or big? If they can identify what size the problem was, I say a small problem is something you can solve on your own or solve by yourself. A medium problem, you have to ask for help, and a big problem is like an emergency. So often children have a big reaction to a small problem. So if they can even recognize that afterwards and then practice and talk about, let's say, the juice spilled on the floor, so I had a meltdown, I was super sad. Well, actually, juice spilling is a small problem. I can solve it myself by going to get a cloth, cleaning it up, and asking for more juice. So if they could practice that for next time, you're teaching them the tools and skills of the future. Maybe for some kids, the juice spilling would be a medium problem. They feel so beside themselves, they have no solution. Like, for example, my daughter, she's only 3 years old. She does need to ask for help. And she said, the juice spilled. Dad, can you get a cloth? And it's kind of cool. Our daughter actually loves cleaning up. So she'd get the cloth part, but she would need help getting more juice. And sometimes she'd say, more juice, my juice spilled. And I would tell her, hey, Jayla, can you please ask nicely for more juice? I'd love to give you some juice, just ask nicely. So kind of the replacement behaviors and teaching how to ask the proper way in those moments. Because sometimes our children just need a bit of course correction. They actually don't need punishment, they don't need consequences, they don't need a severe thing, they just need a course correction of finding replacement behaviors to teach them the right way. The best approach is the proactive one. So proactive parenting is based on connecting and redirecting, as we can see here, promoting regulation, moving towards green. And the best parenting discipline happens in the yellow zone, proactive before we're getting to red. Reactive discipline is reacting to the child, engaging their downstairs brain, and that's what happens in the red zone. So really, we can make a child more red when we do reactive parenting, but reactive parenting really doesn't do discipline until a child gets in the red zone. And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes we all make as parents. Sometimes even myself, we get busy, we're tied up, things are happening. So we don't intervene early enough, which is why we have to discipline a kid when they're really upset and why the discipline process is just so frustrating. So I'll wrap up this session on discipline with these 4 areas as we think about connection-based discipline. There's no magic wand, there's no magic formula. Since every kid is different, you're going to have to journey with your child and figure out what works best using those 4 principles: firm, fair, flexible, follow through. That is the guiding compass. There's northeast, southwest. That's your guiding compass. If you can stay with those 4 principles, there's no magic wand, there's no formula, but those principles will help you get where you want to go. Number 2 is your kids benefit even when you mess up. See, if you're just providing consequences, your kids are not going to benefit. But if you can develop these connection-based discipline principles, and after a situation happens, connect, talk about emotions, build that awareness, and even for you to kind of apologize or own your 2% when you make mistakes, your children are learning so much from you processing in a developmentally appropriate manner. Our children learn best not from what we say, but what we do. So if we can model, even in our mistakes, how to learn and grow, that is so powerful. And that ties with step number 3. You can always reconnect. So there's withdrawals and deposits. I was talking with some near and dear parents to my heart recently. They're saying, oh, we just feel so bad. We made this mistake or that mistake, minor mistakes. And I said, you know what? You guys are amazing parents. In a day, yes, you make some withdrawals. Maybe you get upset or miss 1 or 2 things. But think of how many deposits. Think of how many positive things that you're putting into your child's life. You're making way more deposits than the average parent. And that's what I want to focus on as well for each of you listening today. Even write down that list of deposits, because we all have parent guilt. We all feel bad. We focus on the withdrawals, the 2 or 3 things we did wrong today. Focus on the deposits. Focus on the 2 or 10 or however many things you did great today as a parent, because it's going to help you be better at this discipline process. When you realize discipline isn't about consequences, it's not about making withdrawals. Even in discipline, we can be making deposits and connecting more. So I strongly recommend checking that out and thinking about that. And the final piece, number 4, is it's never too late to make a positive change. No matter where you're at on your parenting journey, we're all learning and growing. So no condemnation, no guilt for mistakes you've made in the past. Today is a new day. So thanks so much for joining us today. Feel free to check out our other topics on parenting as well. And I wish you all the best in your parenting journey. You can do this.
Thanks for watching this video. We hope you got something out of it. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button.